So I know I've bragged to you before about how beautiful the area is that I live in geologically. It's overpopulated and too noisy. Blah, blah, blah. Whine, whine, whine. But we live in a gorgeous area. And now that my sort of promises for Christmas are done, I'm really happy about that. Now I'm going to tackle something that I've painted it a few times before, but I'm going to revisit it. And I'm looking forward to playing on a larger canvas with it. And that's Mount Cheam. It's near Chilliwack, British Columbia, Canada. It is spelt Cheam. There are many views, many images of it on YouTube or on the internet. I'm going to tamper a little bit with the angle of the views in order to try to turn it into a good composition. I've struggled with doing that before regarding this mountain and mountain range. I've never been quite happy happy. I've always considered it a challenge. So let's take it on as another challenge again. All right, now I don't know if you can see that on there, if you can see this on here, but I've laid in a few pencil marks, quite a few actually. I didn't go to charcoal right away because I didn't want to dirty the canvas, because I am apprehensive about successfully laying in the lines that I need to. But I have these pencil marks in here now, and I think I know what I want to do. It is going to bend the truth a little bit, but it still has to be, if I'm going to do a Mount Cheam painting, it has to be plausible as a Mount Cheim painting. I know you can take liberties with it, and I'm going to do that, but anyway, let's just start with that. This is a few videos ago. I was talking about the little dory that I painted. That was not a scene with a dory in it, as I think I mentioned. That was a painting about a dory with a scene around it. This also is not a painting, or no, this one, contrarily, is not a painting about Mount Cheim. But in this case, it's an entire scene of which Mount Cheim is a very important element. So it's more illustrative in a way, There is no one single item in here that's going to be the key factor. Focal area, I'm still planning on having sort of down here somewhere. And there'll be another, a secondary focal area up in here. I have to make sure this doesn't compete with this too much. We'll see how it plays out. Anyway, for starters, now I have my charcoal stick, and I'm going to lay in more boldly what I feel is a good representation of what I need to paint. I have a lot of other lines in here. That's fine, they can wait. I'd like to explain a couple of other things to you. From Chilliwack, what you see is actually a bit of a range of mountains. This would be Mount Cheim. This would be Mount Lady or Lady Peak, or actually the dog face is what it's often referred to as, because when you get certain light, certain times of the year, when there's a certain amount of snow on it, it looks like a dog's head actually. But that's if you're backed away from it more. In this case, we're just going to show a sliver of it. Behind that, there is Stewart Peak. So it's kind of a ridge of mountains, and behind that there's another peak. I can't remember that, but that's not going to be included in the painting. I don't want to get too complicated. This is really sort of more or less a view from the area of my home, and really what turned me on to doing this is because we're in the middle of a cold stretch right now. We've had some snow landing on the mountaintops, and then you get the evening sun. It's just unbelievable. I mean, you can't help but paint it. It's just too beautiful. But I want to include some of the prairie, because the prairie that we live on is part of the, it's the beginning of the delta of the Fraser River. We live on silt, basically. So I think what's going to work for this painting, and I spent quite a bit of time deciding where the top of this mountain would be. I wanted it to be fairly close to the top, to provide me with an opportunity to come in with a lot of strength in the foreground. So let's just take a guess here. I'm not looking at it and saying, okay, where is a third of the painting up? Like at what point is a third of the painting being separated from the other 2/3? I'm going intuitively, what looks right? What can I work with? So that's what I'm doing, and I'm just now going to lay in you could call it the close horizon. Why not? Let's just call it the close horizon. I suppose I could use a measuring tape and a stick, but what's the fun of that, eh? Okay. So this will all be farmed field with various farms. I'm not going to paint them in. I'm just going to give the impression of farmed fields that have been drained over the years. The Dutch call it polder. Lots of ditches, to drain the farm off or drain the fields from water, and expose all this very, very rich sediment that's come down from the mountains over the years, and it makes excellent farmland. I don't think I'm going to draw a whole lot more down here, because I know that I want to interrupt whatever lines I'm going to have here with trees and and some fields. Maybe a bit of a ditch. You know what I might do actually though? There's something below Mount Cheam that they call the saddle, and it's because of this web. This is considerably closer to us than this is. This other mountain peak, Lady Peak, is another 2 miles further than this is. Okay, and that helps me to coordinate those things a little bit, and they come together kind of like that. Okay, I better stop. I have to think about it a little bit more. Okay, so I'm just going to draw really mostly one line, just to establish this upper area. I'm not going to have these very dark lines because the mountains are in the distance, so I'm just using a bit of cobalt blue and alizarin crimson and white. I'm staying reasonably true to what's actually there. The fun thing is that it's nature, and because of that, we get to bend things, because there are light conditions, you know, there are shadows, there are all kinds of things going on. You know, I actually pity a nature photographer, because yes, they can make things that seem implausible plausible, because we all know it's a photograph, so of course it's there. And as a painter, you're at a disadvantage, because you have to make it appear as though these things are there. So, you know, or these things exist in the proportion and design and value that you've made them. But as painters, we get to move things around and change things a little bit. Okay, that should be a little bit lower than that line, I think. Okay. All right, I'm very tempted to keep going with different lines, but I think I won't. I think that what I'm going to do is now work on the foreground, place in some different trees, work on, you know, the prairie. And we'll see how it goes. My plan is to, I'll probably do quite a few videos on this painting, because I get to relax a little bit now and enjoy myself more. So there might be more short snippets. Who knows? We'll see. What I'm doing now is pretty much entirely utilitarian. I, you know, established the line of where the mountains meet the sky, and I think the idea for this painting is to have light coming from behind us, or behind us, and lighting up some late season crops, maybe dry corn, hay, possibly, and then catching the mountains in various areas with a gray backdrop, so that we can maybe introduce some alpenglow into certain areas in the mountains. So I'll just, I'm just gonna fill that in. So we have this scrubbed in. I made it gray with raw umber and cobalt blue that was left on my palette. And I have used brushes like this. Unless I'm working on a very large painting, I can't use them to make hard lines. So that one's not too bad. The bristles are still fairly long. This little thing is the one I was using to wash in the sky. And what is this? It's a number 4. But I'm going to use up these. I have so many of them, just to wash in the whole painting. As you know, this isn't a canvas that I tinted. It's just I'm going to wash in general colors and forms as I go. We'll call this part 1 of Mount Cheam. Talk to you soon.